of all, I don't know how many of you know, I'm extremely dyslexic. And it came to my attention when someone in this group was standing behind me, watching me on the computer, and was kind of laughing a little bit at how bad I am on the computer. So I felt it was time to educate my peer group. This book kind of sums up what I look at on a daily basis. And dyslexia is something that people are learning more and more about daily. And it's something that is always misdiagnosed, not always, often misdiagnosed. And making sure I've got this right side up, so I'm going to do things backwards. This is the family I was born into. That's me, the little one. And at that point, no one knew I was dyslexic. No one knew that I was going to have a learning disability that was going to be really difficult for me to function on this planet. My mother, she died 20 years ago. She was a person who, extremely intelligent, very, like, way off the charts IQ. When I was a kid, would build Heathkit stereos in the dining room. When we get dinners in the dining room, stereos being built. She wanted to be an engineer. My father, he's 86, he's still alive. My older brother, Gene, he's barely alive with cancer right now. And my other brother, who's 2 years older than me, died last October. So there's a lot of sadness in my heart around this family. And I was the one that could see the whole picture. And that is the gift of dyslexia. I'm 10 years old, and this family was in massive chaos. Alcoholic mother, bipolar father, both in institutions. They separated me and my siblings and put us in different places, and I at 10 said, no way. We are all together. It's the only way we are going to stay together as a family. And so I chose to throw a little temper tantrum and say, I need to be with my brothers. I need to be with my brothers. So I found a place for all three of us to be until our parents became stable enough for us to go home. And at that point, I could see the whole picture. At that point, I could not read and write or walk. Excuse me, I didn't want to say bad words. You know, teachers were trying to figure out what was wrong with me. At 7:30 in the morning, I would go to school, and they tried all kinds of things for me to read. I spent 5 years in summer school. They could not figure out why it was so hard for me to read, because they said, you're really bright, you can do math, you can do all these things, but you can't read. We don't know what's wrong with you. Well, it's very interesting. The brain, when my son was 8 years old, who that year, they determined that dyslexia is a genetic disorder. And I was really sad to hear that, because I gave that to my son. At 8 years old, I was called by the school and asked them to please, they asked me to please come to the school and talk to the kids. And I said, why? And they said, your son is hitting his head and going, I'm so stupid, I'm so stupid. That kid today has a master's degree in his own startup with a couple other people and is doing great. But he had to have tutoring, he had to have a lot of support and a lot of help to get him to where he is today, to where he has overcome dyslexia. It is a part of his life, and he's very proud to be dyslexic today. As a kid, he wasn't. As you can see, a dyslexic brain does not have two of the things that help you read. Here and here, we have that, and it's bigger. The back part of our brain, where the green dot is real important to be able to connect your language skills. Dyslexic people do not have that. 1 in 5 people are dyslexic. They have found out that there are certain fonts, like this font on here, is difficult for a dyslexic person to read because it has serifs. Dyslexia is a situation where people, look at this and go, look at me. There's nothing wrong with me. My brain has the problem. I'm not any different than a person that's born without an arm. That person born without an arm, you see it, you empathize, you understand. A dyslexic person, you don't know it. And there's people with other disabilities, quite a few disabilities that people aren't aware of that are internal. A lot of people confuse dyslexia and ADD. My son, when he was in 2nd grade, the school teacher said, druggy, I want him on Ritalin. I said, no, he is not ADD. They said, yes, he is, he's ADD. I said, no. He, the University of Colorado Psychology Department in 1990 started a whole program in researching dyslexia. That's where they linked the gene, and that's where they also started doing all this work on computers to help children read. And they started it here, so it was really great that he was able to go up there and be tutored. I found out, on the other hand, when I was 34 years old, that I was dyslexic. Problem with ADHD kids is that they have usually behavioral problems. They spend a lot of time in the principal's office. They spend a lot of time sitting in timeout, trying to make them sit down, and they're fidgeting and moving around. They're usually avid readers. They like to read. A dyslexic person, somebody gives me a book, and I'm like, I don't want a book to read. Paying attention, I sat in every class every day in college and listened to everything, and I passed with a 3.0, not knowing I was dyslexic, and begging not to take a foreign language, because most dyslexic people have a very, very hard time with a foreign language. I took Spanish in high school, made D's, and I got a D because I showed up to class. In college, they said, we need a little bit more. So I took sign language, thinking, yay, I found a college in California to get a degree with sign language. That's worse for a dyslexic person. We did not know that, not knowing what was wrong with me. And someone is signing, I can't read it because I have to reverse the fingers. When I'm signing, I could pass, but you had to do both sides of the exam. And so they said, okay, we don't know how we're going to pass you through college. And I was engaged to be married to my first husband, and I said, I won't marry you unless I graduate. I have to graduate. And so I went to the school and said, what can you do for me? They said, the only thing we can possibly do is you're doing all the homework, you can sign, but you're flunking every test. So they said, how about we do you credit, no credit? And they kind of made an exception. They didn't allow that for foreign language for that because it was not a choice to take foreign language, it was a requirement. And so now you are not required if you were dyslexic to have a foreign language. You were exempt. So for me, they let me pass and I got married. It didn't last, but people that know me, that's I'm not real good at the marriage thing either.
Having nothing to do with dyslexia.
Yes, nothing with dyslexia. Other than the fact that my brain goes really fast, because as a child, they probably get tired of being around my energy. As a child, I had to overcompensate. I did not know I was dyslexic. I knew there was something wrong with me, but I needed to figure out how I could keep up, how I could do things. My brain, from a very, very early age, probably that little bitty baby you saw, learned how to speed it up so that I could be ahead of the game. I could not, read and keep up. I had to predict. And the gift of dyslexia, for me, is seeing the big picture. It helps me in my career. It helps me in everything I do. I could catch on to what my children were up to that wasn't okay, because I could see the bigger picture. Oh, I heard that little voice over there saying this, and then I saw that behavior over here. You put it all together, you see the big picture. That is the gift. Sitting and looking at language, it's not a gift for me. My son and I both, if we were given, I wasn't given tests orally, but if I had been, I would have probably succeeded more in school. My son, since we knew he was dyslexic, we had the school, when he was in 6th grade, I got a call from the teacher and they flunked him, and I said, why are you flunking him? They said, he's cheating on every exam. I said, he's not cheating. What are you talking about? They said, hands us these papers with the answers with no work shown. How did he do that? There's no work shown. I said, he's dyslexic. They started testing him verbally, straight A's. He could not show the work, and he could not do the word problems, but he could verbally make straight A's. There are a lot of very famous people that are dyslexic. Charles Schwab is dyslexic. Einstein, dyslexic. Tom Cruise, dyslexic. This is the guy that owns Virgin Airlines. He's extremely dyslexic. He has a big drive to read, and I think the part of success is they see the big picture. He's out there trying to help children. He's trying to reach out and build their self-esteem. Because that's one of the problems with people that are dyslexic. They end up having a self-esteem that's in the gutter. And they want to feel better about themselves, and this man's doing it, and he's putting a lot of money behind it. Okay, this is something that's been very exciting. It's been in the news a lot recently. A lot of emails going on about it. This looks like perfect printing that a child would do. This is the typeface dyslexic people can work with the best. Most books are not written in this typeface. The newspaper, I'm an avid newspaper reader. Every morning I get up and I grab my newspaper and I read it. The thin columns make it easier, but it's serifed. It has, the little edges, so it makes the letters go together. And when you flip your letters and your words sometimes, this would be a lot easier. Everything was in this typeface. So, questions and answers.
At what stage did you find out and really start to get an understanding of what you were dealing with?
Well, when I was 34 years old, my bookkeeper comes in and goes, okay, I've been thinking about this. Every time I come in here, you've got the mouse upside down. And she said, you're looking at this whole thing and doing it all backwards. And that's when I found out. So then...
So what was that, about 5 years ago?
That was 24 years ago. And that bookkeeper, when she said that to me, I went, huh? What are you talking about? And so then I went and read this book. And it said, smart but feel dumb. Of course, it had serifs. It was a very hard book to read.
That seems like a really odd way to force you to find the information.
And it was an MD that wrote the book. And she was dyslexic. And she tells their journey of becoming a doctor when she was so dyslexic and having to do so much reading in science. And she said, once I found out and realized what it was, I didn't feel dumb anymore. And I think when I was 34, it was the first time I didn't feel dumb. I felt very dumb that I couldn't, it's like, I can't do the simplest things. I can't do that. So to me, it was a huge relief to find out. And then my son was diagnosed a couple of years later. And I felt very blessed that he was here in Boulder where they had a lot of education around dyslexia. Otherwise, he would, he would struggle more.
There's a recent study that's also auditory. That's why we have so much trouble learning languages.
I haven't heard that study. It's about that if we did all, tell me about that.
I read it in the Times probably 2 weeks ago, that it's also the way you process sounds and not being able to connect them to the words on paper.
It's interesting you say that because one of the people that my son was tutored by also tutored the CU Buffs because half the team is dyslexic. And a lot of athletes are dyslexic. A lot of artists are dyslexic. It's pretty common in those professions. And his tutor had him do sounds with his tongue to try and help him put the sounds of the letters with his tongue. And he did something with his tongue and the sound. So I don't know if that had anything to do with it or not, but that was the beginning of trying with that. She also worked at CU, so it was a very advanced kind of thing they were doing then, but I don't even know if that's the same thing you're talking about.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons that foreign languages are agonizing. Trying to learn them. It's just the sounds.
To me, I fumble them badly, very badly. You had a question?
Yeah, first of all, I want to reiterate, with dyslexia, there is no cure. it's compensation. My oldest daughter is dyslexic, and we didn't find out until she was well into the 4th grade, when the school system, St. Vrain School District, finally realized that this is something that they need to start paying attention to, and they started putting special classes in the schools. And so my daughter went to a class every day for an hour, learning how to compensate for that.
What is she doing now?
What's she doing now? She does bookkeeping and accounting and something like that.
See, people that have dyslexia are usually pretty good with numbers. They reverse them,
Yeah.
but they understand them really well. You know what?
Which could be an issue too.
Yeah, it can be, but if you know you have that, then you can really work at, and actually, once you know you have anything, you can figure it out. I think for me, that was the biggest key at 34 to find out what was wrong with me. You know, I just felt stupid. So. Okay. Any other questions? Thoughts? Well, this book that's going around kind of gives you an idea of what a dyslexic person does to untangle the words and the letters.
Thanks, Barbie, and thanks for sharing.